Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be collaging with large collage images into a big journal. So I'm using my Large Illusions journal and I'm starting off by gessoing both of the pages. I don't usually gesso my pages, but when I'm using large collage images like this that are colour, I tend to like to have a little bit of gesso behind them just to help preserve the colour and boost it. If it's going on to this slightly darker page like I've got here, it can create a colour imbalance, so to speak. So I did get a little carried away. No, I got my syrup gloss spray out and sprayed that over the page and then ended up with too much on it. It just got a little bit runny. So I split it between the two pages. Then I added in some more because why not? You know, I was in a bit of a smushy stage, obviously. So I'm just going in and drying it. And you can see the cool effects that you get from the gloss sprays against each other. It's like they almost resist in parts and gives you kind of like an alcohol ink-esque background. Now I'm going in with a large script stencil. I'm just adding some metallic paint sort of randomly over it just to sort of blend it all in together. I've got that sort of ochre colour in the background and I want to have sort of just this metallic sheen to it with just these little bits of red or fuchsia peeping out between it. So I'm not being very particular with where I'm stenciling. I'm just adding sort of glimmer here and there on the page. So once I've got it looking the way I want to, it's a little bit patchworky, it's a little bit odd, but it kind of gives me an idea of sort of maps and so on in the background. This is a large image that I'm using today. I'm just cutting out around the border and all the excess bits that I don't necessarily want on the page. I've also trimmed up around the edges and just given her a little bit of a hairstyle. Then I'm using gel medium to glow it down. So I take back what I said at the beginning about the gesso, but you can kind of see why I would have used it. So in the background of where her hair is, you can see some of that red coming through. If you didn't want that to happen, is create the background around your image or gesso under where you're going to put the image so that you can block out any colour interfering from below onto your page. Now when these dry, they are translucent, so it does darken a little bit and it does sort of hide the colour a little bit, but you can sort of still see it poking through. With the bottom of her neck, I've just extended that a little bit, so I've added in a colour for her dress and then I've added in the skin tone for her neck. And you'll notice when I painted in her neck, I actually painted the whole way up her neck, so you couldn't sort of see the transition between one and the other. So it's always good to sort of blend in the colours a little bit. The colour for the dress I chose because I wanted to have not a match, but a link to the colours in her hair as well. So the hair in this sort of has those petrol-y blue, darker green tones to it. So I wanted to have that in her dress as well as a bit of a contrast to the background. Now I'm going in with my Stabilo oil pencil, and this is a blue Inktense pencil. I'm just adding in a few highlights and shadows into her hair. I'm also going in with my Stabilo Woody, which is like a Stabilo pencil, but they're a bit chunkier. They're actually the kids' versions, which I got my hands on, and they work in the same way, but they're just a really lovely chunky colour that you can sort of add brightness and add marks onto your page really, really easily, and they're smudgeable just like the Stabilo oil pencils as well. So I'm just warming up her skin a little bit with yellow, adding the moonlight in, adding a bit of reflection from the moonlight onto the houses with the gold and the yellow pencils as well. So by drawing over the top of your collage image, it helps to add a little bit of shadowing in, but it also helps to add a little bit of detail, a little bit of texture to your page as well. Now I'm going in and darkening up my background again. So I'm going in with the marine because that's sort of a really big colour on the page, and then wiping away the excess. So this gives you almost a glazed effect over your page, and when I remove it I will have sort of that sparkly gold coming through and the red, but with some of that blue popping through as well. So again, it's sort of creating those visual triangles on the page of that marine colour coming through. And again, just do a little bit on the other side as well to balance it up. So this is quite it sort of ended up being quite a dark page, which I didn't mind because this image is on the darker side. I think it's supposed to be at night, so I didn't mind that it had those sort of darker tones to it. But you can see how I'm picking up colours from the background. So, you know, I'm spritzing some gold across it to sort of echo that gold moonlight on the page as well. I'm just making sure it's dry before I start writing a quote on the page. So with your gloss inks or sprays or your acrylic inks, they take a little bit longer to dry because obviously putting a big splodge of it onto your page, so just be aware that you do need to give it a little bit of time to dry. So on this page I decided to put a big quote because I had a whole page to fill up. I also wanted to practice my cursive writing, which I'm doing here. So I've just written out the quote lightly in my Stabilo, not my Stabilo pens, I've got that on my brain, and my Posca pen. And now I'm going back through and rewriting over it for two reasons. One, to get a little bit more opaqueness to the white, and for the second, as I can thicken up some of the downstrokes so it stands out on the page a little bit more. Before I started writing on this page, I didn't necessarily shape my pen all that well, so it's not quite as opaque as it usually is when I write on my page. That's okay. It takes a little bit more time, but you can do another coat over the top as well if you wanted to. Just whatever works for you. But if you end up doing some drop shadows or some shadowing around your lettering, that kind of takes care of the opaqueness because it balances it up a little bit. So while it's a bit hard to see on screen at the moment, I'm going in and putting a black drop shadow on my letters, and you can sort of see it starting to push out from the background, but certainly in the close-ups at the end you'll see what a difference that makes. It's a really easy trick. If you don't have a black pen like this, you can use a warm grey Tombow pen or alcohol marker to do the same, and it will give you sort of a similar effect. So it's just a really, really handy way to help your quote jump out of your page a little bit. So once I finish that, the page is done. So here is the finished page. You can see those colours, you can see how they sort of tie together. You can see that drop shadow around the letters pushing it out from the background, and how it all sort of plays together. So there's lots of repetition of colour on the page, so you can sort of see those petrol blue colours coming through, you can see that golden colour coming through from the moonlight. So use your collage image as inspiration, not only for your page but for the colours you choose on your page as well. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.